Hi, it's Tuesday with Tab. I am still getting over a monstrous head cold, so I'm sorry if I sound like that. I'm here with coffee and a blanket, and so it's a good day. And so I thought I would just share we are getting closer to having a release date for TUC03 Eden's Sword. I know I keep saying that, but I really mean it. The editing process is done. Yay. The book is headed to proofreading, and so my awesome publisher tells me that once they get into the proofing, they will set a date, and then they will tell me, and I will tell you, and I promise. So that's where we are with Eden's Sword. And in the meantime, if you wanted last week or the week before, I read an excerpt from Eden's Sword. That was really fun, so you can check that out or whatever. But I thought that in the meantime today that I would chat for a couple of minutes or longer, because who are we kidding? It's me, and I love to talk. But I thought I would talk about the meaning of the books, the Chronicle of the Three Trilogy. I get asked fairly often from readers wanting to know, wanting me to talk about the message of the books, my design or master plan or whatnot. What did I have in mind as the message while I was writing these books? And the short answer is honestly nothing. Nothing deep, really. I just had an idea of a magical, mystical book and demon slayers and sassiness, and it didn't begin with me sitting down and plotting a message like I would a sermon. It was just a story, a fictional story, and I feel the need to clarify the fictional part right off the beginning. And maybe I don't have to do this, but writing is still pretty new to me, and I don't read a lot of quote-unquote Christian fiction, or fiction that is specifically Christian or overtly Christian. And so I really got into this and didn't really understand how a lot of people think and perceive it. And so I'm just going to put this out there because I feel like I should. Because when you're a Christian and you write books with Christian themes, but the theology gets a little wonky because it's fiction, people can get uncomfortable, and I get that. I really get that. I can even empathize. Sorry, my cold, I can't talk. I can empathize with that, but for me, I was not writing a thesis on doctrine or on theology or on anything really overtly biblical. I was just writing a story, and I took creative license with things because for me, it was a story, and I wanted it to have a certain pace and a certain feel. And so my demons and my angels are not biblically based, not more than a very surface level. I mean, I'm sure that, there are bits and pieces that could be construed as biblical because, angels, demons, but I didn't do research and try to make them biblical. It was what was in my imagination and what I was thinking. So I took a lot of creative license there. Is there biblical symbolism in my book with the swords? Because sword of the spirit, God's word, sure. Do I tie in my slayers to biblical characters through a bloodline? Yes, because I thought that would be a cool angle. But again, this is fiction. It's my story that I wanted to write, and to me, and this isn't for everyone, this is just my opinion, and you are allowed to disagree with me on it. But for me, those details, like whether or not my characters went to church a lot, or used the name of Jesus to slay demons instead of a sword, or how often they prayed, that just wasn't the point. And when people hear that I'm a pastor, that can be kind of weird because I do believe in prayer, and I do believe in the name of Jesus, and I do believe in going to church. But again, this was a story, and this wasn't about those details. This wasn't me trying to be overtly Christian. In all honesty, I didn't write this book for other Christians. I'm glad that a lot of Jesus followers have read it and enjoyed it. but that wasn't my goal. I wanted to write a story, and because I believe in Jesus, my faith is going to show up in that story. It's going to be woven in there because I can't help it. It's who I am. It's part of how I think and how I perceive the world. But this wasn't about being a Christian story or even about Christian characters per se. It was just me writing what was in my head and what was in my imagination, and a story that I enjoyed, and I just wanted to put that out there because I know that there are some things in my story, again, because I took creative license and theology gets a little wonky, that it makes people uncomfortable. And I'm okay with that. And if that means my story isn't for you, like, totally cool. And I've had some people who are some of my readers, even some of my squad, that have even messaged me, and we've talked about some of those points that they were personally uncomfortable with, and we've had an awesome conversation. And I'm totally cool with that. Like, I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind if someone's like, I didn't really like that, or that made me uncomfortable. Totally cool. But I just felt like I needed to say that for me, this was fiction, and this wasn't about writing a Christian story about the Christian faith. This was me, who I am a Christian, writing a story that I enjoyed. And so I get that spiritual warfare is a real thing. So because my book deals with that, that's why some people can get like cringy, and that's cool. I won't go into my personal experiences because I just don't think this is the place or the venue, but I will say that I do take spiritual warfare very seriously. I took this story seriously, and I prayed a lot about it and how to approach things. And in the end, I came to realize that the reason those details were not important for me was that this story wasn't about slaying the demons. This story was not about slaying the demons that they could see. That's, I mean, it kind of is. That's what Claire and Zoe and Maggie and team Live Chosen are doing. They're slaying demons. But for me, that's not really what the story was about. So I didn't need those moments to be overtly Christian or spiritual or even theological, because that wasn't the main point for me. That was kind of the glue that held everything together. But for me, the real story in the TCO Three Trilogy was about internal things like fear and doubt and pain, and even sometimes love, and how they can weaken us and how they strive to keep us from our purpose, our calling, the thing for which we are chosen if we let them. And those were things Zoe and Claire and the others, they didn't fight those things with swords, be it their fear or their grief or their doubts or even other emotions that they were struggling with. They didn't fight those things with swords. They fought them with grace and with faith and with time with the Maker. And so I feel like in that way, I was really true to my beliefs, and I didn't take creative license, but that's the deeper thing, and that's where it went deeper. And so for me, if you want to know what I think the message of the books is, it's one, that you are powerful. There is a darkness, and it feels strong. Some days I deal with anxiety, and the darkness feels really strong, but you are stronger. And when the darkness creeps into your mind, because your mind is the first place it's going to creep. And when it creeps into your mind and it tells you you aren't good enough, or it makes you afraid, or whatever the case may be for you, to know that you are stronger. That no matter how strong it feels, no matter how hard it feels, that you most definitely are stronger. And so I hope that maybe the characters portrayed that they had moments where they were very weak. In Eden's Sword, we're going to see Zoe really kind of almost hit rock bottom emotionally. But no matter how weak you feel or how tired you get of that kind of battle, because that battle, you can slay demons with a sword all day long, trying to deal with the junk in your own mind is so much more exhausting and so much tougher and so much harder to fight. But you are stronger than all of that, and you can withstand it. So that was one, you are powerful. Two, you are chosen. Everyone has purpose, and it looks different. It is as unique as you are, but it is real, and you were created specifically and strategically. And you may be like Zoe and not feel chosen, or like Maggie and think that you don't have anything to offer, but you are, and you do. And I want people to understand that you're not an accident, and this world needs you. There is a reason you're here. There's something you're passionate about. There's something you're gifted in, and the world needs you. And so you are chosen with a purpose. And yeah. And then number 3, you are loved. And this is not about romance. Butterflies and goosebumps are usually more about lust than love, if we're being real honest, because real love is deeper. It is unconditional. It is unshakable. And you've got it, my friend, from the maker. And you don't have to earn it. It's just there. And you can watch this, or you can read my books and not believe in God. I almost put that in the description that I'm a Jesus follower. And like I said, so Jesus stuff is, and my faith and my beliefs are going to be in what I write somewhere, somehow. It's just who I am. Like it or leave it. And I know there have been a lot of people who have read my books who don't believe in God, who are not part of the Christian faith, and they were okay with those faith parts. And so I just want you, and that's cool with me. Like, I love that. I don't, this is not some like exclusive club and you can't read my books unless, like, I love when someone doesn't believe the same way I do, but they will pick up the story and maybe hear something. But back to, you are loved. So you are loved. And even if you don't believe in God, that's cool, because guess what? He still loves you. He still loves you. And I'll believe it for the both of us, if need be, for the time being. So if you're watching this and you're like, stories about demon slayers are cool, but when you start getting into the God stuff, like, that's not who I am, that's okay. That's okay. But just know that God does love you, and when you feel like no one else does, he does. That you are loved, deeply loved, and for no reason other than just because you exist. And so that's that. And then the fourth thing for me is that you are never alone. In a crowded and noisy world, we can all feel like no one sees us or hears us, that there's no one who understands what we're going through. But we need to know that someone does, that there are people who care, that there is a God who cares. And we may not always realize it, but when we open our eyes and really look, or take that first step to reach out and say, I need help, I need something, we will often find that someone is actually pretty close by, just waiting to reach back. I believe that God most definitely is, that he will show up when you need him, that he doesn't need to show up, that he's already been there. We just didn't see him. So you are never alone, that there is someone who's got your back. And I always say, if you're one of my readers or you watch these videos, like, you can always send me a message to talk, to connect, to pray for encouragement, whatever. I am a pastor too. I mentioned that, and I talk to students all the time. I have kiddos text me and message me and email me, and I see them every week at church, and I love nothing more than the privilege of being some form of encouragement in their life, and the same goes for all of you. I only have so many minutes in a day, but I will gladly use them to try and be a voice of love and encouragement and grace to someone who needs it. So if you reach out to me, I will most definitely reach back. So that's what the thing is about. Anyway, to me, anyway. And maybe you just like pie and sass and slaying demons, and that's totally cool. sometimes we don't care about the deep stuff. We just want to be entertained. And if this story entertained you and that was all, then that's enough for me. And it's fun. Sometimes I like stuff that just entertains me. And I'll be honest, like I said at the beginning, I didn't sit down and think of all of this ahead of time and then write a story that fit this. I just wrote the story that I enjoyed, the story that my weird wackadoo imagination came up with. And this is what happened, because like I said, most of the time when I wrote, I did not consciously think about the deep stuff. I just wrote. I imagined the scenes and the characters and usually what it would look like if it was a TV show or a movie. So wink, wink, Joss Whedon and or any executive producers from the CW. Just tossing that out there. But Jesus does cool things when we let him lead. And that's what I tried to do, even with some non-biblical angels and demons and swords and pie and lollipops and everything else. I just tried to let him lead and make him happy. And if I felt like he was cool with it, then I was cool with it. And I hope that you will read my little story if you haven't already. And if you have read it, that you will at least have felt like something encouraged you. Maybe that you'll start to feel like you're enough, that you'll start to feel like you're stronger than the darkness that's coming at you, or that you'll know that you're seen. Or maybe it'll just get you asking the questions that will get you to the place where you will discover or acknowledge or believe that you, my dear one, are powerful, chosen, loved, and never alone. So that's it for me today. Those of you that watched, thanks. Allie, for your comment there that I'm seeing. Allie put, that's why I've loved about the TCO3 books, because I felt I identified with the characters because they have weakness and have doubts, but they kept their faith, and their faith still came through. And I love that, because we can see stories where there are these good little Christian characters who never have anything bad happen, or who never have doubts and never have fears and never feel weak, or even someone who is getting saved, like this salvation experience moment, and then everything is just fine. And that's just not really what being a Christian is like in real life. I wish that it was. I wish that it was like, oh, I believe in Jesus, and then bam, nothing bad ever happened, or anything bad that did happen, I could just handle it so perfectly, and my emotions were so in check, and I just never had to deal with crap or negativity or fear or doubt. But we do. We totally do. And so I think that was real to me, that we have these characters who are slaying demons, that they very much understand a real spiritual realm, yet that was not enough to make fear and doubt and confusion go away, that they had to deal with it. And so anyway, I said I was done, and now I'm still talking, but I just wanted to share that with you all. Like I said, I get asked that a lot, for me to talk about the message of the books. And so that's just kind of my heart. That's what they developed into, through all the sassiness and sarcasm and all of that. Though that's the piece that I think is the deeper piece for me, and what I would hope would be the deeper piece that you would see if you're interested at all in looking for that. And again, I'm here. You can comment, you can message me and reach out if you need to. But for those of you that have been watching with me this morning, thanks so much. You rock socks. And yeah, and if there was something about the books that just struck a chord with you, feel free to comment and share it. And I'll be back next week, maybe with something fun and not so deep. I don't know. But I just felt like this is something I needed to share with you all this morning. And I hope that it had some meaning for you. But anyway, I hope that you have an awesome rest of your Tuesday. I'm going to have tacos later, so you know that that's a good day. So thank you all so much. Peace.